We have ice on the streets and a wind chill factor of 1 degree. 1 degree. That just does not happen here. So yeah, we're adjusting and we're not working our regular jobs, which is good because that means we have a shop day. Speaking of shops, I just walked in here and it is freezing in here. I glanced over at the thermostat when I walked through the door. It said 40 degrees. I can't work in 40-degree temperatures. So I'm gonna crank up the heater in the shop, but I'm also gonna use my Big Buddy propane heater to supplement and take the initial edge out of the cold. Now, if you've been reluctant to do that because your little buddy or big buddy just uses those little green Coleman cans and they don't last very long, here's the good news. They have a new hose that adapts your little or big buddy to a regular size propane tank. And that has been a game changer. So I'm gonna fire that up and I'm gonna go back in the house and warm up a little bit and let this shop warm up. Okay, so we're back in the shop. It's a nice 66 degrees in here now, which is way better. And it's time to dive into the parts from Ron Fitzpatrick Jeep. And it's all in one FedEx bag. I don't really remember what I ordered, honestly. I know I was missing a lot of pieces when we worked on the Jeep last, so let's dive into it and see what we get into here. Don't need that. Okay, so it's all in one box. This looks like it was a master cylinder box. And I have a master cylinder ordered, I think. Ooh, Almond Joy. Personal favorite. That's exciting. I love when they throw a little candy in there. And I see a business card. So if you need to know more about Ron Fitzpatrick, there's their data. Oh, cool. On the back of their business card, it has interesting specs you need on Jeeps, Willys Jeeps specifically, like plug gap and tire pressure and other specifications. That is a nice bonus. So there you go. Ah, the invoice. This might help me remember what I ordered. Okay, yes, so we've got 2, 4, 9, 10, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 parts in that box. That don't even seem possible. $162. Alrighty, well, let's see what we can find in here. Oh, got a couple of short, flexible brake lines. That's cool. We've got a couple of long, flexible brake lines. Oh, that is one way they get so much in this packaging. Check that out. That is slick. I recognize brass washers and clips to hold the brake lines on. Don't know what that is. Oh, that's the bolts for the master cylinder and then some junction blocks for the brake lines. Yeah, that's really cool. And then, of course, the biggest item in here, which is probably what the box was for, was the master cylinder itself. So there you have it. That is 22 pieces that we're going to try to install in this episode. So let's dive in and get busy. All right, so we got the shop kind of straightened out. Man, I've never really touched it since the holidays, so had quite a bit of organizing to do, but now we've got our parts laid out, but they're not quite organized enough for me because I got some in a big baggie here. Of course, they provided this really cool, you know, kind of zip-locky looking kind of thing. But a friend of mine, Charlie, just for Christmas bought me this Eastwood tool or parts tray, flexible. And I thought, man, what a great opportunity to use it, to take all these small pieces and put them in individual compartments and keep it all organized so I don't lose anything like I did that brass bushing on the brakes. All right, I'd forgotten about an awesome resource called Team G503. It is a YouTube site, and it is a fantastic resource on how to put these things together. I'd also forgotten that's how I knew what part numbers to order from Ron Fitzpatrick. So super, super good resource. Did a little bit of watching and kind of shook my memory on how some of this goes together. But it didn't take long to get into a situation where I was missing a part. The bolt that holds this brass fitting on. I don't think Ron sold it, is why I didn't order it. But my dad taught me years ago, never throw extra hardware away. I took that advice and I went through my stash, and there you go, we have the right bolt. So we're going to bolt this brass fitting onto the differential and work our way out from it and officially start the brake line installation. Let's get busy. And they recommend doing everything kind of hand tight initially. And I'm having to kind of tweak the brake lines to make everything kind of fit and span the gap. And you can see how that kind of fits right in that hole right there. We're just going to get it started just enough to hold it in place. Just like so. Yep. And we're going to work. We've got this side connected on the driver's side. Now I'm going to kind of head across the differential and try to attach it to the other side, the other wheel cylinder. Then we'll tighten up everything later in the end. So that's a nice start right there. Okay, so we're on the driver's side now. You pull these little caps off that protect the end of the brake line there. And there's a little rubber cap inside the wheel cylinder also. And you just want to kind of fit it in there. Just kind of, don't let it fight you. You don't want to get it cross-threaded for sure. And just kind of get it started just like that. That's perfect. And now that we've got both ends secured, both wheel cylinders connected, the junctions in the middle, now there's a lot of little clips and bands and things that hold that brake line down that we're going to focus on next. All right, so I was a little stumped the way this brake line was fitting up here. Looked at a bunch of video resources, really couldn't find what I was looking for. So I decided to go back and look at some footage of the original disassembly of the differential in the chassis. And it was very helpful because for whatever reason, I don't understand why, this brake line doesn't really fit like most normal Willys. Now, I always had to remind myself that this was a very early one, so it could be unique for that reason. But it turns out, that it uses a clip that looks like this. This is not what I ordered from Ron Fitzpatrick because it wasn't the right looking part. Fortunately, I still had these off of the original brake lines, and it turns out they fit right here, just like so. Oh, I think I have it upside down. But it goes in that bolt hole and that bolt hole, looking at the past footage. So that's what we're gonna try to figure out here, is how to make that work. All right, so the next step of the rear brake line assembly process is taking this 15-inch line. It runs from the brass fitting up underneath the gun turret to the brake line right here that runs down the driver's side of the vehicle. Thought I'd reposition the camera for you and show you what's happening here. So it's in the brass fitting right there. It goes through this bracket right here, and then this little clip slides. There's a little groove in the end of the fitting. It's not really right. I see the problem. It's not in the groove. Okay. So, aha, only one side of it is grooved. There's little flat sides. I was jamming it into that part right there. So let's try to figure that out a little better. You know, it goes so much easier when it's installed right. All right, so I got to thinking about these bands that they wanted me to install over this little lining on the brake line. I was gonna skip it, but I did a little research and it turns out that is what keeps the brake line from moving when it's under pressure. You have the clips up here on the differential, but you need one close to the brass fitting, it turns out. So on that Team G503, he made a great suggestion of kind of making the clamp more egg-shaped so that the brake line is in kind of a little pocket up here and not getting squished by the basically hose clamp that they give you. So I'm going to just kind of drop that around the line and rethread it. And when I get close to where it needs to really be, I'll actually twist it around. This nut driver makes it very easy. My left hand is still not 100%. I haven't found or been to the specialist yet. I'm supposed to have a referral, but it hadn't happened yet. My thumb still doesn't like to work. And I still got the old crocodile knuckle. So anyway, but this is how this is supposed to kind of be. Again, I'm not going to go all the way tight until we get everything situated. But again, it's one step closer to how it's supposed to be. So that'll hold that right there. And that is it for the rear differential. All the brake fittings are connected. The brackets are on. The hoses are connected. We're moving to the front. Early this morning, we heard a pop above our bedroom ceiling. And now the cold water doesn't flow. Yay. So I got to make my way out here to where the water shutoff is and kind of clear that out, because I have a feeling I'm going to be using this tool before the day is out. Okay, so we've got the the attic all cleared out where the pipe is that we think may have a crack in it from the freeze. So when the plumber comes, it'll be easier to get to. All my Christmas stuff sat in that area. So that is done. So, and the water shut off. Oh boy. So that way, if it does thaw out, it'll just be whatever's in the line, not gallons and gallons of water. So we're finally back on the Jeep project. And you ever had one of those challenges that wakes you up in the middle of the night? This is a silly one, but these are the brake line protectors, and they sit right here on top of this assembly here. And the brake line is kind of shrouded so that brush and stuff doesn't hit it from the front. And somewhere along the way, the 4 nuts that hold it onto the top of the suspension went missing. And I've been meaning to get some and didn't get around to it. And I thought, this is going to hold up the whole project, because you have to have these in place to put the front brake lines in place to make progress. And then as I was looking around this morning, I realized on the bottom of this same side, on each side, there's a similar type attachment without one of these. And I thought, boom, we will steal 2 nuts from the bottom to get this secured, and we'll buy nuts later when we can travel on the roads. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna just do 2 nuts per side just to get it secured so we can make progress on the front brakes. All right, another tip that I learned from Team G503, you're gonna get sick of me talking about them, but it is a great resource, is these flexible brake lines get attached to this little S-looking hard line. And I learned from them 2 things important. Number 1, there's actually 2 different lengths of the S. I hope you can see that. There's a shorter and a longer. The shorter goes in the flexible brake line. And they recommend you hand thread them in until it bottoms out. And then go ahead and tighten it all the way while it is off the vehicle. Apparently it's very difficult to access this once it's on the Jeep. So I'm gonna take that advice, give it a good tightening, and that's what that ends up looking like. And then the next step is we're gonna run this little S hard line through that shield I showed you, that brush shield, and then that end goes into the wheel cylinder. So we're gonna do that next. So you have this little S hooky looking brake line in here, and you've got to get it through this little hose protector and down to the wheel cylinder. And it's kind of an interesting little twist you got to do. You twist and you turn and you twist again, and boom, it fits perfect. That is so cool. I would have never thought that would work that well, but you can kind of see how it's going to have a retainer clip there, and it's going to screw into the wheel cylinder there. So really neat. I did make one observation while I was looking right here. Whenever I assembled the differential and front springs, this little shackle is too close to this retainer clip holder right here. So I'm gonna have to loosen this one shackle and knock it over toward this little standoff right here, because there's not enough room for the brake line to run through there and attach to this flexible line, because it kind of works like that, and it won't screw in because it's too close right now. So that's unexpected, but we're going to get down there and we're going to loosen that and move it over. You remember the U-bolt? I called it a shackle earlier that I had to scoot over so that the soft line would clear. Well, guess what? Now the hard line was having a fight with it. So I had to remove it all together to get the hard line in, and now I'm going to drop it back in, hopefully for the last time. You've heard the expression, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Yeah, I just experienced that. To get that hard line on the passenger side, I had to remove the shock and the lower shock mount. Well, for some reason, this Willys, every time you take the lower shock mount off, the differential wants to slide off of the leaf spring where the perch is located. In episode 13, you saw me battle this, and I used a ratchet strap to get it lined out. I changed my strategy this time. I went to my wife's Camry and got her scissor jack out of the trunk. It worked amazing. Problem solved. Three years ago, we had similar weather, a week of ice and snow, and this patch of area right outside of our garage took days to thaw out because it's in the shade. So I decided to try to head that off this year. You saw me use the scraper, that didn't work. You saw me try to use some reflective material to maybe put some sun on it, that didn't work. Then I decided to deploy American V8 power. Yep, I called in the Camaro. And if you look behind me, it's starting to work. You gotta love the 350 Chevy. On to the next opportunity. This brass fitting fits on the back of the differential right there. Got a problem though. The original bolt is broken off into the tab. So we're gonna have to drill that out, make sure we got good threads, and then we can mount our brass fitting. All right, so we're at the final part of the front brake lines, hard lines, soft lines. It has taken all day because of a lot of setbacks, but we're getting there. And this is the first time we're gonna use a brass washer. Several of them came in the kit, and this is the first application of it. And it goes in this brass T-fitting. This is a rubber line that's gonna terminate right there and tie into the master cylinder line. So I'm gonna thread this in just like you're supposed to, just like so. This has been the easiest thing so far today. I better be careful, I'll jinx myself. And they said to make sure you get a good tight fit, because you have to kind of smash that copper washer. Boom, just like that. And then that ends up right there. I have one extra clip that happened to be left over from the original Jeep, thank God, because I was one short. We're gonna clip that right there, and then we move on to master cylinder and master cylinder lines. All right, we're honing in on the end of the project. We're to the master cylinder and related hard lines. Always a good idea to check out the old versus the new, make sure they match. They look really good. This right here is the shaft that the brake pedal actually uses to actuate the master cylinder. Don't have another one of those, so I'll have to pull that off of there and clean it up. But you can see the original tail lamp switch, and we've got a new one of those brass Y fittings right there that are going on. So yeah, we got all the parts, so let's get after it and try to finish this up before it gets dark. Oh no, that's what I was afraid of. I just sheared off the brake light switch. I knew that was having a hard time going in there. I don't think it was right for that fitting. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of John's Garage. We end with a broken part. I'll get one of those coming and we'll stick that in and you'll see it on a future episode. But thank you for watching this episode. Man, it has been an awesome couple of days. We survived a rare snowmageddon here in Louisiana. We had a scare of a leak in the house from a frozen pipe, but it thawed. The Camaro turned out to be an awesome icebreaker for the driveway, and we got a ton done on the Willys chassis while we were stuck at the house. All the hard lines are in, all the soft lines are in, master cylinders in. All we got to do is order another one of those, and the brakes will be done. So thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe, tell your friends about us, and by all means, stay tuned for future episodes because we got some cool ones coming at you. Thanks for watching.